Hillary Clinton's reign as the Democratic frontrunner in jeopardy thanks to big weekends for Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. The vice president marched in Pittsburgh's annual Labor Day parade where he received chants of support. Thank you. Vice President Biden says that he is considering a late entry into the 2016 presidential race if he and his family have the emotional energy for a campaign. And his competition would not just be Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders widening his lead in New Hampshire, leading Clinton by 9 percentage points. It is the third poll in a row where Sanders comes out on top in the first primary state. And we have our political panel with us to break it all down. And, of course, we will get to a little bit of Trump, I hope. You can't avoid that these days. Republican Mark Serrano from Proactive Communications is here, and Democrat Richard Goodstein from Goodstein and Associates. But let's start with our very own Blake Berman in D.C. Blake?
Hi there, Dagan. Good afternoon to you. We'll start with Joe Biden. Yet another poll for supporters of Biden to lean on. A new Monmouth University poll today shows the undeclared Biden running second nationally to Hillary Clinton. Now, while he's still 20 points behind Clinton in a hypothetical matchup, as you can see there, his 22% mark is the highest he's hit in this election cycle. The second place standing is also a first since June. The Draft Biden campaign, which continues to pitch the possibility of a Biden run, reacted this afternoon, telling Fox Business, quote, "For the past month and a half, every poll released has confirmed one simple fact. There's a deep desire among Democratic primary voters to have Vice President Biden join the presidential race." Just yesterday, the vice president joked about that possibility. Listen here.
You got to talk to my wife about that. I've got to talk to my wife about that.
Well, laughter could be a theme here because the New York Times is reporting that Clinton's campaign has set what they're calling a new focus, wanting to show Clinton's humor and heart. Dagan?
Thank you so much. Blake Berman down in Washington, D.C. for us. Richard, I'm going to go to you first. Does Joe get in this race? Because the Joe Biden that you saw over the weekend, he had a lot of energy. He really seemed to be, quite frankly, campaigning. It was a very different man than you saw when he was speaking in Atlanta in that synagogue, where he seemed very reserved and emotional and unsure about whether he'd run or not.
Right. So what do you think the odds are that somehow in the course of 3 or 4 days, this profound kind of question in his mind about whether he had the stomach for this, somehow he put behind him? Look, the synagogue was kind of a somber setting. You march in a Labor Day parade. It's different when people are cheering from you. And I think what's happened, there was a bit of a trial balloon that the Biden people put out. And I think this Monmouth poll, frankly, is consistent with other polls. He's running between kind of the high teens, low 20s. But he's not really cutting all that much into Hillary. She's still in the 40s. Yet that said, I don't think there's a single Democrat who will begrudge Joe Biden getting into this race. They want to give him time, space, whether he can get the money together, whether he can get the field organizers. All that's a big question. He knows that. He's been around politics long enough. Right. But I think there's still very much an open question.
And Mark, well, Hillary's going to be running with humor and heart. That was the story in the New York Times, that the people who work on her campaign feel so compelled that they want to communicate this message of, here's the real Hillary Clinton. You don't see her on the campaign trail, but this is what she's running. But this is how we're going to tell her to run. And I want to read this David Axelrod tweet that he wrote, if we can pull it up, when he was talking about this New York Times article. Today's New York Times story on HRC read more like The Onion. Her detailed plan to show more authenticity and spontaneity, hashtag just do it. Mark, your thoughts on that?
Dagan, that's the ironic thing about appearing to be authentic, is you actually have to be authentic. Appearing to be genuine, you really have to be genuine in order to appear to be genuine. So Hillary clearly is not. I mean, the article even talked about how Hillary, from the New York Times, is wooden and appears overly cautious. That's coming from the New York Times. So they said instead the campaign is planning on greater spontaneity from the candidate. planned spontaneity. That's the absurdity of this candidacy. And really, it's very cynical if you think about it, how their campaign and Hillary looks at Democrat primary voters, that they can convince her that she's genuine. And the truth is, she's not. They're just creating a new persona as being humorous to try to get past the electorate. But let me bring it around something, Dagan, what you talked about Joe Biden. Let me tell you the forces at play with the draft Joe Biden campaign. It's coming from within the Obama White House for a very basic reason. A greater motivator for Democrats than the first elected woman president is protecting the Obama legacy. They don't trust that Hillary Clinton will do that, and it's the Obama White House that wants Joe Biden in this race, and he will enter this race.
Well, I will add this, Richard, and you can jump in here, but if this economy is shaky, you've seen the shakiness in the market, having Joe Biden in the race would let Hillary Clinton run against what the White House did on the economy.
Exactly. Look, again, you're not going to have any Democrats, certainly not this Democrat, say anything unkind about Joe Biden. But Hillary Clinton, if she runs, has the ability to talk her kinder, gentler, right? She'll have a way to distance herself. If Joe Biden's running, it's much harder for him to kind of put distance between himself and the incumbent presidency. Look, even the polls among Democrats show Hillary at 80% favorability, which is appreciably higher than Biden. And Jeb Bush, in contrast, among Republicans, is under 50%. So Democrats, don't listen to what Mark says. Listen to Democrats. Democrats love Hillary Clinton.
Democrats
and that's
don't trust
the reason. Well, listen, Mark, look, you can say all you want. I understand. Look, if the guy on the other team for me was beating every one of my candidates, which in the Real Clear Politics averages is true, Hillary beats every single Republican, I'd want her out too.
That's look, there's no way. Look, there's no way Hillary Clinton can run against the Obama administration. She is held accountable for Benghazi, and we're going to hear more about Benghazi before a congressional committee in the next month.
The biggest thing is, Richard, you cannot argue with me on this. You can't be happy that somebody that she paid off the books, essentially, to run her server is now pleading the fifth, is not talking to FBI investigators, and is not going to testify on this email matter. Pleading the fifth, just that phrase could haunt her.
It's ugly.
No, it won't. You know, it won't, Dagan. First of all, they could give him immunity, and he'll testify just like that. And here's why I will argue with you. Every day the Republicans talk about Benghazi, thanks to Mark, and emails, is a day they're not talking about what the country's going to look like if they get in. Hillary's talking about
New York Times talks about
Mark,
it.
I didn't interrupt you. Excuse me. Mark. Hillary's talking about college affordability. She's talking about middle-class tax cuts. She's talking about any number of things that will help the middle class. And Benghazi and emails are not the ticket to winning the election in 2016.
I do want to get to Mark really quickly. I'm not going to quote anything from this article, but I will read the headline. Trump is right on economics by Paul Krugman. That cannot help the Republican Party. He's talking about how Trump is more right because he's more left on economics. He's not sounding the right message, that Jeb Bush is not sounding the right message. And Krugman does call Trump an ignorant blowhard in the article. But that can't help the Republican Party, Mark.
Well, it does sound like the kiss of death coming from Krugman. But first of all, he's reading a lot into Trump's positions on taxes and the economy, which he's going to release sometime soon, whereas mostly he's talked about not having a net tax increase at all. Those are his Trump's own words. But more importantly, this is why observations from people across the spectrum will help Trump. There are 18 states that have open primaries, including South Carolina and Ohio. In those states, if you're appealing to Reagan Democrats, they can vote in the Republican primary. So I actually think, although it is the kiss of death coming from Krugman, I think observations from people who are going to rally Reagan Democrats is a net positive because you have the open primary system in 18 important states.
Mark, we got to go. Richard Goodstein, Lord, we're going to have so much to talk about in the next year or so. Thank you, gentlemen.